What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York calling from the quarantine zone again, and this time we got Neil from Phil Campbell and the Bastard Sons. Thank you for your time today. I appreciate it.
Hey, all good. Hope you're well.
Yeah, hanging in there, all things considered.
The quarantine zone, I like it.
Yep, the quarantine podcast. I'm sure that's a podcast somewhere in the world right now.
Yeah, it should be.
Yeah, but you have...
We're all living it, that's for sure.
Definitely. So you have the new album, We're the Bastards, coming out November 13th. Do you just want to talk about like how the making of this record was? Was there kind of like a preconceived idea and how you wanted it to sound? How did We're the Bastards sort of like come to be?
We always planned on recording the new album in 2020, so that it wasn't a decision we made because of the lockdown or anything. And luckily for us, our guitarist, Todd, is also a producer and has his own studio. So we always plan to record locally to us anyway in the UK where we live. So that was always the plan. But yeah, things did change slightly for us because we weren't able to go in the studio, all five of us at the same time, which is different to what you would normally experience when you go to record an album, So we kind of had to go in and do our individual parts and do it in isolation, pretty much. So at any one time, there was only the producer and one other person at the studio. So from that point of view, it was a little different, but we were just grateful that we could still go ahead and record a new album because, I know there's lots of other people that wouldn't have been in a fortunate position as we were to have a studio we could use locally and obviously the producer in the band that we have. So, yeah, we're grateful that we could do it.
Yeah, I'd imagine, different recording experience, but it still, had that sort of like Bastard Son charm to it, right? It's not going to be like too different from The Age of Absurdity or anything like that.
No, I mean you're going to get that same kind of mix that we had in the last album, and you fully expect to have riffs on the album that would remind you of Motorhead because Phil Campbell's in the band and he wrote the Motorhead riffs, so you're going to get that side of things, and there's also the more bluesy kind of stuff in certain songs that I know Phil is very much into, and from my point of view, I'm influenced a lot from the 90s grunge scene, so like I guess subconsciously that's where I'm coming from with my melody kind of ideas and stuff. So yeah, it's hopefully if you like the first album, you're gonna dig this one as well, I think.
Mm-hmm. Could the first single, Son of a Gun, almost serve as like a clear representation of what to expect on this album, or is that just the tip of the iceberg?
Yeah, there's some fast songs on there like that one. It's not the only song on the album like that, for sure. You're gonna expect to have a few of those on the album, definitely. I guess we picked that song deliberately because we know the kind of stuff that our fans would like, and it's a quick, fast, punchy song, and we kind of felt like it would be a good introduction to the new stuff. So yeah, there's definitely a few more on there in that kind of faster tempo vein, and just guitar solos everywhere, and hopefully people will agree with me that there's some really awesome riffs, and yeah, it's kind of a good taste of what's to come.
Mm-hmm. Now, when it comes to like obviously you mentioned that like it's sort of a continuation from what we got on the debut, but was there any, obviously because of the times that we're living in, the recording process was a little bit different here and there. So, but like in terms of the sound, you would say that it is like a direct continuation of The Age of Absurdity, or were there some kind of like new elements incorporated?
Well, we tried to make it sound as organic as possible, but obviously bearing in mind, we were restricted in how we could record it at the end of the day. We couldn't just all get in a live room together and do it that way. So, but yeah, we've definitely tried to make it as energetic as possible and as organic sounding as possible. And I think from my point of view, by the time I got to actually record my vocals, there hadn't been a lot else going on at that time, and I think I was probably super excited and had plenty of energy to give into the album, because it was actually giving me an outlet for some of my energy, which I didn't have anything else to do. Same as everyone else in the world, we were trapped and didn't have much we could get on with. So it was definitely a welcome relief to actually get into the studio and to be able to sing and actually give something like all my energy I could.
Yeah, isolation is always a great fuel for creativity. So if anything, maybe this spawned some extra energy or maybe even some new inspiration, right?
I'd agree with that, definitely, yeah. Because, no, I disagree. No point in expanding. I agree with exactly what you said.
Yeah. Now, kind of going into like the formation of Phil Campbell and the Bastard Sons, do any of your does Phil Campbell, was the idea to combine elements of Motorhead and maybe combine your experiences with Attack and Dopamine and maybe kind of like create one hodgepodge of a project, or did you guys want to try to do something that you've never done before previously?
We've never talked about it. There's never been a preconceived idea of how we should sound. Like, everybody in the band can play all instruments. Like, everyone plays guitar, everyone plays drums. Like, so we have a good outlet of creativity there, so there's plenty of ideas coming in from all angles. And, for us, it's always just been about, like, not trying to write a certain way or a certain style. But I guess ultimately, like I mentioned earlier, Phil's been in Motorhead for 30 plus years. He's written so many iconic riffs with them and stuff. That's what he does. He writes riffs like that. So we're gonna have that kind of sound in some of our songs. And but it's not. I wouldn't say it definitely isn't like a preconceived idea how we want things to sound. We just want songs that sound good to us. That, like, on the whole, like, the main thing for us is that we can write songs that we can perform live. We don't want to really be the kind of band that writes stuff, studio songs, if that makes sense. Ones that you're never going to be able to pull off doing live. Like, we definitely want to write songs that we can see ourselves performing live. Because a lot of our band is centered around being able to play live, so...
Yeah,
it's important to us that the songs that we create, there's not a million layers on them. It's stuff that could easily be conceived as something we could just get guitars, bass, drums, and vocals out and make it sound kick-ass live. So
no room for backing tracks.
That's kind of the idea. Yeah. I mean, it's not for us at the end of the day. It's not something that we will ever use. I can't see us ever doing anything like that. I mean, we do sometimes add a little extra instrument here or there, like we've got a harmonica on a couple of tracks. But nothing crazy,
Yeah. Is it a different mind frame doing this project as opposed with Attack or Dopamine, or is there maybe kind of like a usual method behind your creativity that almost kind of like applies to everything?
Yeah. Personally speaking, it's different for me because with my other bands, I would do a lot of the songwriting. I would feel a lot of pressure to have to come up with a finished product from start to finish, But with this band, I've got my role, which is to write melodies and to write lyrics. So it's different. It's different for me from that point of view, but a good different. It's not. I don't miss having to be the one responsible for starting and finishing 15 songs or whatever. It's nice to actually be sent music and to be played music by the other guys and get excited by hearing what they've written musically, and then have the awesome job of then having to just think of lyrics and melodies to go over the top of that and get my frustrations of the world out and whatever therapy I use music as, to get stuff off my chest. So yeah, it's great. It's different. It is different to how it has been in different bands, but I guess I don't feel the same pressure in this band that I used to in previous ones.
Yeah, well, I've thought that the music for Phil Campbell and the Bastard Sons, it has a really good like laid back rock and roll vibe behind it. So I thought, and I clearly, from what you were just explaining to me, this does seem to be a little bit more of a laid back songwriting process, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I guess that does come out because there's no real pressure to. I guess the lack of pressure I'm feeling is obviously subconsciously somewhere making it come out like that way, to you guys. So yeah, it's nice.
Yeah. As a vocalist, has there ever been a time where lyrics or like a lyrical idea could influence the direction of the song, or do you need music before you come up with lyrics?
I've always written melodies first. Actually, I know a lot of singers will write pages and pages and pages of words and poems and have thousands of different ideas written down, and then they'll go back to those to write stuff to. I'm not like that. I like to have the melody in my head before I actually start to write the lyrics. So I kind of need the music first to the way I do it. I need to have that. So I sometimes let the music sound as well, like influence what direction I'm going to go lyrically sometimes too. Because if it's an aggressive sounding riff, you're not going to want to sing about pink unicorns. You know what I mean? You're going to want to sing about something that's a bit more aggressive too. If the music makes me feel like like when you listen to Rage Against the Machine, for example, and when I listen to Rage Against the Machine, I don't know if everyone does, but if you do, it makes me like super pumped. Like I just want to smash things up in my room. Like if I hear a riff like that, that's as cool as that. That's not the feeling that makes me have. Then I guess the lyrics will go down that avenue as well. It follow what the music makes me feel like. So yeah, that's kind of always the way I've gone about it.
Rage Against the Machine is definitely. I there's no way in hell that nobody gets pumped up by listening to Rage Against the Machine. Like that is a.
I hope so.
Yeah,
I hope there's no one in the world that can listen to that and just be like, it's got to make you feel. It makes me feel alive when I listen to that band.
Yeah, even if you don't, whether you if you don't like the lyrics or even just the sound itself, the fact of the matter is that is amped up, pumped up music. And being that they were supposed to do a reunion tour this year, and that's clearly not happening, and when it does happen, I think that's going to be the most pumped up show in history.
I will be there 100%. Yeah, it's a band that I've only seen them live a few times, so I would most definitely love to have the opportunity to see them again, because there's so many bands that, from my personal point of view, that I would love to see again, but I'm not going to have the chance. So yeah, they would definitely be one I would, I probably would be unlucky and be on tour or something. But yeah, fingers crossed if they do get to play again, I'm going to be there, because they're one of the bands that they, like I said earlier, they just make me feel alive when I listen to their music. It's always the same. And it still sounds so fresh to me. Like when I put that first album on, it doesn't sound in any way, shape, or form dated to me. It still sounds incredible.
Yeah, that's that band is like lightning in a bottle. Like the fact is that they haven't put out a new album, an album of new material since '98. Their music is still very relevant. People still enjoy it, and the music is so technically catchy and impressive. Like that is a real good definition of just good art, whether you like it or not.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree, 100%. And there's never been anyone else like them. I mean, I don't think there can be. I guess it's one of those special bands where it's not going to work if someone else does it. And like you say, was it '98 was the last album?
Well, I mean, if you get Renegades was the last thing that they put out in 2000, but that was a covers album, so
yeah. So we're talking about 22 years. Holy shit.
Yep, I was what? I was born in '90. I was 5 years old the last time they put out something new.
That's incredible.
Yep.
That's amazing.
Yep. Oh god.
But yeah, still sounds like I say. I put that on, and it still sounds as fresh today as it did when I first heard it. So
yeah, it's funny that you say that you have you ever hummed a melody to yourself or came up with a melody before there was music, and that maybe influenced it as well, or just you need music before you come into the picture at all?
I definitely have done that, yeah, but not with Phil Campbell Band.
Mm-hmm.
I've done it in previous bands where I've thought of a melody, just a random melody, and then written a whole song around that musically. Definitely, yeah. But it's yet to happen in the Phil Campbell Band,
Yeah, never say never.
I get it's kind of cool because Todd's got his own studio. Like he'll just send me I think demos, but they sound amazing anyway because he's got his own studio. But like, yeah, they're technically demos, and he'll send them over to me, and I'm spoiled in that way, you know, that I can just wake up in the morning and have an email in my box, and it's like this slamming riff that him or his dad or his brother's written, and I got the pleasure of then thinking of what to do over the top of that, you know.
Definitely. You have the easiest job in the band. You have lead singer syndrome. I'm kidding.
Don't tell anyone, man.
Oh.
I'm trying to flag this.
Oh, it's going on the internet for everyone to hear.
Oh, damn it! The dream's over.
Exactly. I'll be the reason.
You'll see me and doing these videos like, that is so good.
Well, now you and I could start a band. We'll have each other.
Oh yeah. Sounds good.
Yep.
You can be the next Rage Against the Machine.
Exactly. Your career will end because of this interview. My career will end because of this interview, and then you and I start a band. That'll be the best story in music history.
It'd be incredible. I'm well up for it.
Let's do it. I have a couple more questions for you. But like in terms of the lyrics, especially within Phil Campbell's project, like do you like to leave the lyrics open to interpretation, or do you try to maybe like, I don't want to say convey a message, but maybe try to engage the listener into the lyrical subject matter you sing about?
It's probably more the first thing you said. I guess there are some songs where it's a bit more obvious. I'm quite lyrically. I'm quite like influenced by like people like Kurt Cobain. I think where a lot of the stuff that he wrote was a bit more vague and open to interpretation. You know,
Mm-hmm.
There are always songs where it's a bit more clear, and like there are songs definitely for me that I know exactly what I'm singing about and what it means to me. There's always like that, you know, in my head what it is. But it's nice to know that people can also listen to those songs and it can mean something completely different to someone else. And yeah, that's the beauty of music. And you know, they can listen to the lyrics about something and totally take it a different way, and it can mean something else to someone else. So, but I do. You know, especially this album, I got a lot of the songs around the same kind of time, so I kind of was a bit daunted at first with the amount that I had to write all in one go, and I obviously was a bit conscious that I didn't want it all to be about the same kind of thing, and especially not to be about COVID if I could avoid it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I draw inspiration from different places, and yeah, I mean, hopefully, you know, it's not all mumbo jumbo to everyone. Hopefully people can relate to some of the things I'm singing about and get something out of it, I hope.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a therapy for me, like, for sure. I've always said it. Like, I'm grateful that I have the opportunity to talk about things and get things off my chest that I wouldn't have if it wasn't for writing songs.
Yeah, it seems like you're able to approach it from both a very literal and metaphorical standpoint.
I hope it comes across that way. Yeah, I hope so.
Mm-hmm. And the final question I wanted to ask you is like, because you mentioned that, you know, you really focus on how this music is going to translate live, which I find really unique, that because, you know, sometimes artists, you know, like bring in these elements that just can't be replicated live. It's just impossible. So being that, you know, you purposely go into the studio thinking on how this music is going to translate live, is playing live at all similar to when you're practicing or recording?
I mean, this time round, no. The last album, more so, yeah, because on the last album we were able to track everything all in one go. I mean, it wasn't how it was finalised. Obviously, I went in and did overdubs vocally, but, you know, we did fundamentally record the drums for the first album with a whole band performing all together in a room, you know. But this time round, we just weren't able to do that because of the situation. But yeah, like when we're tracking vocals, for example, we'll try not to go crazy on like harmonies and things, because we are always thinking in the back of our minds, you know, well, there are a couple of guys in the band that do backing vocals live and stuff, but, you know, we're trying to be as energetic as possible while playing as well, so they're not going to want to be stood there singing the entire time backing vocals, and there's definitely going to be no 3-part harmonies live. So that's, why should we try and do too much of that stuff on the album itself? It's definitely something we're thinking about when we're recording.
Yeah,
but that can go either way. Like you said, some bands like that. Some bands like the fact that it's a different setting, that they can try out different things. And I'm not against that in music in general. It's just for us, I think, like, obviously with Phil coming from Motorhead, that was never something they would have done. So I guess it's like ingrained in Phil. It's just rock and roll music, and it's meant to be played live. So let's try and just write songs that will sound as good, if not better, in a live music venue than they will on the album.
Well, being that playing live is just taking music on the album and bringing it into a live setting, there's a replica element behind it. Is there anything remotely creative about playing live, being that, it is just replicating a song in a different setting?
That's a good question. The feeling you have when you record is a completely different feeling to playing a gig. I mean, you've obviously got, like, just the whole atmosphere of the room and the energy of everyone else in the room, and the smell. Just everything is so different, I definitely, like, 1,000,000% prefer singing live than... but recording for me isn't something that, like, I particularly look forward to, if I'm honest. I mean, I think this time round I did a bit more than normal because it just meant I could do something, because of the situation we were all in. It actually gave me a reason to get out of bed. But fundamentally for me, it's like I look forward to performing live, and recording, I guess, is something we have to do as musicians for people to hear songs. But if there was a way of just them coming to shows and hearing them, I wouldn't be against that. But I mean, the problem as well is with the live thing is, like, at the end of the day, like, production wise, for example, you're up against everyone producing things to such a good standard. Like, you can't just go and record something with 2 microphones, and because if you put that up against something else, then it's just never gonna sound in the same league, even if the songs are great. So it's kind of difficult to find a balance of recording an album and overproducing, and finding that line where you don't want to cross it and go too crazy on the production, but then you've got to obviously do to a certain degree, because it's got to stand up against all the other stuff that people are buying and listening to.
Yeah, definitely. So before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time today. Really great to talk to you, and great to talk about some Rage Against the Machine too. Definitely a band for the times. Is there just anything else that you would like to promote? I mean, obviously the new album's scheduled to come out in November, but obviously when the world does get back to normal, is there a chance that maybe you could bring Phil Campbell and the Bastard Sons to the States one day?
It's definitely something we would love to do. The desire is there for sure. Difficult thing is obviously, like, making it work. It's doing the tour in Europe for us is obviously a lot easier because there's no visa. Well, maybe that'll change because we're leaving the European Union, but, like, there's no visas needed, and that stuff unfortunately costs quite a ton of money. So it's something we've always wanted to do, and I think the desire is definitely still there to do it. But I guess COVID isn't going to make that any easier. From what the rumours I'm hearing, that they may even increase the cost of the working visas and stuff. So it's difficult to say. All I can say is we really, really hope we can come and do it. Like, Phil did it a lot with Motorhead. He's told us some great stories and has told us it's amazing. So we all want to get out there and do it for sure.
Awesome.
And, it's a case of taking it day by day, and seeing what can be done. Like, we've had to move all of our tours that we had scheduled in Europe. So our next gig technically now isn't until May, and whether that goes ahead or not, obviously we don't know until we get close to the time. But we've had everything cancelled this year. So, but it's not. We just have to carry on and stay positive, because we all need live concerts. Like, we all love watching bands. We all love doing that stuff. So there's got to be a way of getting it back.
Yeah.
I think people need it. I definitely need it.
Yeah.
So.
People are going to want to party as soon as this is over. I've been saying this to everybody I've interviewed. Mark my words, when this is officially over, when this is a thing of the past, we will be entering, I think, the best era of music of all time.
I know. It's going to be wild, I think. Because, I mean, there's some... I don't want to say, like, oh, it's true. Like, you take for granted... We all do it. We all take stuff for granted, and now I think we've all learned that, like, we can take nothing for granted anymore.
Yeah, new rule. When concerts return, you are not to ask any band what time their set is. Just go when doors open and leave when the doors close.
Yeah, and just have as much fun as possible.
Exactly.
Which is, I guess, what people normally do. It's like, I don't mean, like, people don't always turn up for the support bands. That's obviously people's personal choices or whatever. But yeah, I mean, you're 100% right. You just gotta get out there and enjoy it when it comes back, because we've all been starved of it for so long now, and there's obviously no immediate return scheduled. So yeah, let's just hope it's sooner rather than later, and we can all get back at it.
Definitely. But Neil, thank you so much, everybody. We are here with Neil of Phil Campbell and the Bastard Sons. Be sure to pick up their brand new album coming November 13th. This is Alex from Heavy New York, and we will see you next time.